Welcome into the NFL opening line report. Week 1 is here. This is the start of the regular season. I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers, getting you on the right side of some of these moves and getting you ready for Week 1, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday games. TC, welcome on in, man. Happy Monday morning to you. Week 1 is here.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this day for a long time, haven't we? Or at least this week. Obviously, the games aren't being played today, but kickoff on Thursday, Friday NFL, and obviously Sunday, the first full NFL Sunday of the season. Now, this show is going to be different from every other show all year because every other show all year, we're going to have virgin numbers to talk about. I mean, literally, every other show that we do from week 2 right through to the Super Bowl, we'll get our first look at what I like to call, virgin numbers. That's not the case today. Today, we have stale numbers that have, well, not stale, but they've been pounded into shape all summer. Let's put it that way. These numbers have been up at some books since March, since right just after the Super Bowl. So when it comes to where these lines are going to move, for today at least, I'm not expecting a whole lot. Moving forward, we'll have plenty of projection. And of course, one of the biggest things that I want to do on this show, one of the biggest goals of this show is, what do we bet now? What do we wait? Where's the urgency? Where's the patience required? That's always a focus. And for this week, I'm not sure there's a lot of urgency. I'll just put it that way. So I doubt we'll see emergency betting alerts today, but maybe something will pop up during the show. Stranger things have happened.
Sure, Teddy. And I'll tell you what, the first game we're going to be talking about is an important one, at least where the number sits right now, guys. So let's get into it. NFL opening line report with Teddy Covers, Drew Martin, breaking down the games here. We got Thursday, September 5th, first NFL regular season game of the year. 5:20 Pacific, 451, 452. If you go to the WagerTalk live odds screen, we're just going down in rotation order here. Baltimore, the Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. We are seeing the Chiefs mostly -3 here, Teddy. However, it looks to be a little Vegas, more global market divide, as we are seeing 2.5 hooks on the Chiefs at some places. So can call it a little bit of a split line here. -2.5, -3, 46.5 being the total. Ravens at Chiefs to kick us off here, TC.
Yeah, so what I do each and every week on the show is I'll give you my powering number for these two teams. We usually do the look-ahead line, but we don't have look-ahead lines this week because all we have is week 1 numbers, but I'll give the look-ahead lines for next week's show. Then we talk about where it opened and where it's moved. So here, my powering number is KC -3 against Baltimore. That's a pure powering number. Team A minus Team B, throw in home field. And I'm using 1.5 points as my standard home field. I'm making some adjustments down to 1, other adjustments up to 2. But, back when I moved to Vegas, you say 2.5, 3 points for the NFL home field. Modern era, I'm using 1.5. So I've got KC slightly power rated ahead of Baltimore. And, of course, the Chiefs' home field edge puts me at 3 on this ballgame. And this has bounced 2.5, 3 all summer. All right. I expect it to continue to be we'll call it 2.75, 2.8. That's kind of what the line is right now because it's juiced at the 2.5 shops, the majority of them, at least -20. So, yeah, 2.8, it might even be a 2.9 for KC, but not quite the 3 at even money. But certainly when we look at, and again, you don't want to get too much into recency bias, but John Harbaugh's got a really good week 1 track record. This year's Baltimore team in the preseason has been different. They were not as good in August as they've been. Is that an indicator of a coach changing his philosophy in August? Is that an indicator that maybe this year's Ravens team isn't as good as recent additions? We'll find out on Thursday night. But the markets certainly have given Kansas City at least a little bit of love. Baltimore's been a hot team many recent years in the offseason betting markets. This has not been one of those years. We've seen more money come against the Ravens, at least from the sources that I follow, than come on them. So, anyhow, 2.5, 3 total 46.5. We've seen a little bit of under money. I don't think we'll see a whole lot more. This line's not going to do a whole lot between now. None of these lines are. I don't think between now and kickoff. But I would expect to see 3s more than 2.5 the prevailing number by Thursday.
Makes sense, Teddy. And yeah, you bring up the Ravens preseason. And I remember from doing the show with you in the preseason, the quarterback room, not the starting quarterback, but After that, Tyler Huntley's not there anymore, so that kind of affected him in the preseason, at least cashing tickets, in my opinion. All right, we got a Friday game here, Teddy. Friday Night Lights in the NFL, 5:20 Pacific. Green Bay Packers, Philadelphia Eagles. I believe this one is in Brazil, TC. -2 in the hook. That's fly, Eagles fly as the home favorite. 49 being the total. What are we thinking, Packers and Eagles?
So my powering number on the game is only Philly -1. The market's 2.5, 3 at this stage. It was 1.5 at the open. We've seen a fair bit of market support for Philadelphia this preseason. We've seen money on the Eagles to win the division, although that has a lot to do with anti-Dallas, and no one trusts the Commanders or Giants. But we've seen Philly money over the division. We've seen Philly money over their season win totals. There's a Philly money to win the NFC. There's been a fair bit of Philly love. But the division one's the one that stands out the most because that's pro-Philly and anti-every other team in the NFC East. So it's certainly worth noting. The question is, how much of what we saw down the stretch of last year for Philadelphia, and people are focusing on that 1-5 finish. Philly struggled when they went 10-1. All right. They struggled repeatedly during that span. And we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop and it finally dropped. But at no point last season did Philadelphia look like the Super Bowl team they were 2 years ago. Yet the betting markets seem pretty enamored with the Eagles right now. And Green Bay is a team that played mediocre football for the better part of the first 3 months of the season and then came on like gangbusters down the stretch. The markets, again, looking for reversion to the mean, Green Bay projected as one of the contenders in a loaded NFC North this year, but they're certainly not being projected as an elite contender. Hence the money for Philly since the opener. And again, 48.5, 49, the total, a little bit of over money, which is fairly unusual for week one. Week one, we tend to see more under money. No surprise here if this one closes Eagles -3. So if you like Philly, find a 2.5 now. Get down before Friday. If you like Green Bay, there's no urgency to make your bet.
The international location, does it work into your handicap at all with the Packers and the Eagles?
I mean, no. To be brutally honest,
okay.
When you talk about these international games in general, all right, they're interesting, but the only team that I've ever seen have any kind of edge, and it's not even much of an edge, is Jacksonville, because Jacksonville goes to London every year. So they're used to that trip, or other teams haven't made it. So I give the Jags a little bit of credit for going to London. But everything else, everybody else, I mean, I don't see a side that it's going to favor. I don't see a total that it's going to favor, that over versus under. This field plays fast. I mean, so it's just handicapping another game. These guys aren't out sightseeing while they're there. They go from the hotel to the practice facility to the game. It's just playing another venue. So, the fans are screaming at them in a different language, perhaps, Portuguese. But other than that, it's in my mind largely a non-factor.
Okay, fair enough, Teddy. And you bring up the Jaguars, flipping the script here, guys, to the Sunday slate. Sunday, September 8th. We're talking all the 10 a.m. Pacific kicks here first. 1 o'clock local time, 1 o'clock Eastern here. Sunshine State battle, Teddy. Jacksonville Jaguars, Miami Dolphins from Hard Rock and Miami Gardens. We are seeing Dolphins -3 across the board with juice. So -3, -120, let's call it as the consensus line. 49 in the hook being the total. Jags at Dolphins.
Yeah, the 3.5s have slowly been coming off the board for the last week or so. There were 3.5s on this ball game. There were even 4s and 5s at the open. But it was pretty much 3.5 all summer. And the markets have been taking the hooks or taking Jacksonville plus the 3.5. My number is 3.5 on the game for what it's worth for Miami. Miami's got a pretty good track record in these week ones. Last year, I cashed a 5% big ticket winner with the Dolphins on the opening Sunday of the season. So Mike McDaniel's a coach who I do trust to get things right. Jacksonville's another team. We talk about Philadelphia's collapse down the stretch last year. The Jags collapse, maybe not as publicized as Philadelphia's collapse, because Philadelphia was a Super Bowl team the year before, but certainly Jacksonville had an equal collapse where nothing went right for them down the stretch. A team that is in position to dominate the division, a team that was a -150 favorite to win the division prior to week one last year, minus 160, even minus 170, which you don't see that, to win minus 170s in a 4-team division very often. That's what the Jags were, but they stunk down the stretch. Both sides of the ball, and a very mistake-ridden team. So on paper, Jacksonville's pretty good. Jacksonville maybe, they're certainly not way worse than Miami, but the Jags are kind of a prove, like Philadelphia. The Jags are a little bit of a prove-it-to-me team. Miami isn't. Miami proved it. So I have a slight lean towards the Dolphins at 3. I don't think it's going to make my betting card. And again, this is another one. Usually we expect to see under money in NFL Week 1. Not this game. We haven't seen over money, but the under money has not shown at all for the Jags Miami. This is one of the highest totals on the board.
Like it, Teddy. Next one up, we got 457, 458, Pittsburgh and Atlanta. Steelers visiting the Falcons here in Mercedes-Benz. In the ATL, it is the Falcons, minus 3-point home favorites, reduced juice at some shops. 42.5 being the total here, Teddy. Steelers at Falcons.
So when it comes to these week 1 games, I'm spending a lot of time talking about last year. I don't want to talk about last year. I don't want to talk about last year for the Eagles. I don't want to talk about last year for the Jaguars. But when you come into the season, you're coming in for those two teams in particular with unrealized expectations from a year ago. So last year does flow into this year, at least a little bit, at least when we're at the handicapping for week 1. Atlanta's another team that kind of falls into that mix. Wildly disappointing a year ago. They made a commitment to win now in 2023, and the quarterback play, the play calling, the offense, the defense, the ability to get off the field with a W. They lost, horrible close games over and over again through the first half of the campaign. It really wasn't pretty, and obviously the new head coach, new era in Atlanta. But the stank of the mediocrity last year is still on this team, and something that I think will hang over them until we see what they do here in week 1. They were certainly not good home favorites a year ago. All that being said, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, this is a marquee matchup. And if you ask me which of these two QBs I trust more right now, moving forward, probably Cousins. Wilson played himself out of his last 2 jobs. He's already got Justin Fields nipping at his hand, at his ankles. And I understand his one preseason drive, he came in and threw a touchdown. Move the ball down the field. I've got my concerns about Pittsburgh. And when the Steelers lose opening day, it's worth noting, last 5 years, 3 times they've won on opening day, the 2 losses, both blowouts, which is something of concern. My number on the game is 3. The market number on the game is 3. I don't think I'm going to involve with it from a side standpoint. But I do lean Atlanta here. Maybe before this week is done, we'll get to the window in some way, shape, or form with the Falcons. I haven't done it yet, though.
Teddy, next one up, we got 459, 460, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. It's the New York Giants hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings -1 road favorites, 41.5. Didn't know if you had something else on the Falcons game, though.
Yeah, there's something I had to talk about just with Cousins, because Cousins didn't play at all in the preseason. He's coming off the ACL. There were concerns about how healthy he was. The report that I read out of Falcons practice last week was him and Penix, quote, put on a show. So I believe Cousins is ready. I believe so. We'll find out for sure next Sunday. But that was worth. I wanted to bring that up with Atlanta because both Cousins and Wilson, neither one of them played a whole lot this August. When it comes to the Giants and the Vikings, been all Minnesota money. Wise guys really like the Vikings in this ballgame. I haven't talked to anyone that likes the G-men. It's been 1-0, Minnesota. My number on the game is pick 'em. And if you think I'm laying a point on the road with Sam Darnold, you're nuts. I ain't gonna do it. Not at this juncture. I don't like Minnesota. All right. The markets are higher on Minnesota than I am right now. I look at a team that in many ways overachieved a year ago, a team that has significant QB questions, a team that has depth problems all over the field. And if you want to buy low on the Giants, I mean, if reading stuff, the Giants are the 32nd most talented team in the NFL. The Giants have the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. I'll take Danny Dimes over Sam Darnold. I will.
So would I.
And there's value on the G-men in this spot. Again, it's been a lot of support for Minnesota. My numbers only pick them, so it's not like I'm high on the Giants. It's not like I'm sitting there going that. But in my mind, Minnesota is not a team that I trust to lay a price on the road. And again, you can count on this game being tied or close, close to the number in the fourth quarter. Who do you trust to make a play down the stretch? 2 years ago, Danny Dimes was really good at that. Sam Darnold, his career, not so much. Minnesota's offensive line, I got questions. I got questions about their defensive line. I've got a lot of concerns about the Vikings. In an NFC North with three good teams, Minnesota to me is clearly a clear last place squad.
Teddy, next one up, we got 461, 462, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints. We're seeing the Saints -4 home favorites, 41 being the total in the Big Easy.
Yeah, it's a pick your poison game. My number's 4.5. And I'm not high on New Orleans. Okay. I'm not high on New Orleans even a little bit. I got nothing good to say about New Orleans. All right. I really don't, especially when you talk about laying a price with a Saints team that didn't have much of a home field edge last year, that on paper, again, a team that's been up against its salary cap year after year. And once again this year, New Orleans jettisoning talent, not adding. But taking Carolina in this point spread range is something of a leap of faith. I didn't see a whole lot from the Panthers in August that made me excited about backing them in September. This was the worst. I don't know if it was the worst. The Patriots offense was pretty bad last year. One of the worst offenses in the NFL a year ago. On paper, I'm not sure they're a whole lot better. So, in theory, you can look at this as a buy low sign for New Orleans. On the other hand, you're not going to catch me laying a price with New Orleans, which means I'm not playing the game, because at +4, Carolina, again, new coach, new coordinators, quarterback that's shown nothing, offense that's shown nothing, even in August of this year, besides last year. There's no leap of faith for me to take with the Panthers. They're a bottom feeder until proven otherwise. So it's not a situation where I'm not excited about the favorite. I don't want the dog, so I won't be involved.
Teddy, we got next 10 a.m. Pacific kick up next, 1 p.m. Eastern, New England Patriots, Cincinnati Bengals. We are seeing the Bengals anywhere from -8, mostly -8.5. There is a key global book showing -9 right now. That's the Bengals as the home favorite. 40.5 being the total. Patriots at Bengals.
And I keep leaving one line out of my analysis of the previous game, which makes a nightmare for those of you trying to click back and watch one particular game on the replay of this video. That being said, when we talk about Carolina and New Orleans, we've seen over money in that game, which is something of a surprise. I think that has to do with they think Carolina is going to be better offensively, and their questions about New Orleans defensively. We've seen Panthers team total take some over money as well. When it comes to Cincinnati, New England, the reason that I thought of that is because this game has been a very strong underplay. This was 43 over the summer, 42, 41, 40, 40.5, the prevailing number right now. I bet it under 43 a long time ago. So, New England has all the makings of an elite under team. I think that defense is going to be really good. And Jacoby Brissett's the under quarterback. He's the check down Charlie. He's not going to make plays with his legs the way May is. He's not going to make mistakes the way May is. And, you have a quarterback that's going to throw downfield and run and make mistakes. That's your over QB. You have a quarterback who's going to check it down and avoid sacks. That's your under QB. Brissett's the under QB for New England. The markets have adjusted accordingly. Cincinnati is an interesting story. But anyway, my take on the Patriots, this is as strong an under team as you're going to find. They're cashed unders in all 3 preseason games. I bet them under this week. And again, their defense might be good. Their offense, they don't have a playmaker. They don't have a guy on the team who can break free and get into space and get a quick strike touchdown. And when you don't have that, it's not even one guy who can do that. Offensively, it's going to be a long year for New England. Interesting, though, that the Bengals haven't been bet up. There was a lot of love for Cincy in the offseason betting marketplace. Cincy to win the division. Cincy, they underachieved last year. Cincy's going to be pretty good. When you shine a spotlight on Cincy, you have defensive concerns. You have Zach Taylor having them ready out of camp concerns. And of course, you have all the issues with their receiving core that's had both injuries and holdout situations this August. So it's not like the Bengals, they felt like the team I thought this line was going to get bet up to 10 over the summer. That hasn't happened. My number on the game, 8.5.
465, 466 up next, Teddy covers. We got Tennessee, the Titans, visiting the Chicago Bears. -4 in the hook, pretty much across the board here. That's Chicago as the home favorite, 45 and a hook being the total. It's Titans at Bears, Soldier Field.
Yeah, my number's a little bit higher here. I've got Chicago 5.5, actually 5 3/4, 5.75 over Tennessee. But at the same time, I'm not in a rush to lay a price with the Bears on opening day. This isn't a team that is. So on paper, Chicago's pretty freaking good. All right. And we look at the NFC North. We like Detroit. We like Green Bay. Chicago on paper is as good as literally probably any Bears team that I've seen since, the Rex Grossman era, Devin Hester's Super Bowl team that went to, assuming Caleb Williams is good, which I think he's going to be. Caleb Williams certainly has the potential to be this year's C.J. Stroud, a rookie QB who makes his team better, not worse. Now, in general, the rookie QBs are hard to trust. In general, you bet under the total for teams that are going to start a rookie QB. There are exceptions to that rule. There are consistent exceptions to that rule, and Caleb Williams certainly might be one of those guys. And everywhere else, Chicago, it feels like this is a team that got better everywhere. They got better at quarterback, they got better on the offensive line. I like their skill position. I like their defense better than a year ago. Is that lay points to them on week one against the Titans team that, Tennessee is a mixed bag. Certainly a dismal season a year ago. Certainly a team with very low expectations coming into this season. And there was a lot of love for Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's gone right now. Vrabel kept the team competitive. All that being said, Tennessee's your classic, if they're any good, we're going to make money with this team, because they have no expectations. They're never on TV. No one expects anything from them. They're completely anonymous. So if the Titans turn out to be a team that's losing games by a field goal instead of by a touchdown, they're a team you might be able to make some money with.
We got Arizona and 467, 468. Couple more 1 o'clock Eastern kicks here, guys. It looks like 48 being the total, -6 right now at most shops. That is the Bills' home favorite. It's the Cardinals at the Bills.
Yeah, and again, so we're seeing, I'm used to seeing a lot of under money week one. There was over money for Tennessee, Chicago. This one, not so much. But nonetheless, it's still 48, 40.5, one of the highest totals on the board. There's been steady Arizona money over the last month or so. This line opened, in the, what was it? It opened 7.5 pretty much at most books. Bet down to 7, bet down to 6. There were even 5.5s out there before they got bought back up to 6. But the markets are trending down on Buffalo. We saw money come in against the Bills' season win total, or Buffalo under. We've seen money coming against them here in week one, now laying less than a touchdown to a team that was, pretty dismal a year ago, a team that still has a whole lot of defensive question marks, a team that has a quarterback in Kyler Murray for Arizona with a lot of upside, but yet when you look at his career, you're not seeing any recent success from Murray in terms of winning ball games. So if you liked Arizona, you've missed a number here, flat out. My number is 6 3/4, 6.5/7 for Buffalo, Arizona. And I'm not high on the Bills, and I am relatively high on Arizona being better than they were a year ago. And my number's still higher than the market right now. So, like I said, there's upside with Arizona. Every wise guy hates Buffalo. That sometimes can create a value scenario for the favorite. I'm not laying it with Buffalo. I don't trust the Bills. And like I said, there are things I like about Arizona a fair bit. But like I said, if you like the Cardinals, I think you've missed the number in this one. 6 for a team that was a bottom feeder against a team that's been competing for Super Bowls. It's a little bit low in this bettor's opinion.
Yeah, seems a little short there, Teddy. Guys, we got 8 10 a.m. Pacific kicks here, and this is the last one that we'll talk before we flip the script to the afternoon matchups. 469, 470, Houston, the Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. We are seeing Texans as the road favorite, -2 and a hook here. 48.5, 49 being the total, Teddy. We get the Texans at Colts.
Yeah, and my number on the game is Houston -1.5. I have both these teams as bet on potential teams coming into the season. I'm disappointed they're playing each other week one. I'm not surprised that Houston has taken the early money. I would not be surprised to see Houston go off at -3. The Texans made everybody money last year. They have a fairly big betting bandwagon. The Joes like them. The pros like them. Those are the teams that get bet up pretty significantly, and that's certainly the case for Houston. Again, this one was as low as 1 at the open. Now I'm seeing 2.5s prevailing. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if we see more Texans money. If it comes to 2.5 with Houston, I don't know if it gets all the way to 3. It could, but Houston's a really popular team in the betting markets right now. And again, deservedly so. They did nothing but overachieve a year ago. But my number on the game is only Houston 1/1.5. So I won't be laying with the Texans in week one.
We got 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern up next here for the next few games. 471, 472, Las Vegas Raiders, LA Chargers. TC, we're seeing the Chargers -3 with juice at other shops. 40.5 being the total. It's Raiders at Chargers division matchup.
Yeah, I'll talk about this in just a sec. First, I got to talk about what's going on at WagerTalk.com right now. For my own self, 28-8 in week one over the last 9 years. I've been pretty good at reading the markets and making money for my clients right out of the gate. 16, sorry, that's not right. 8-2 with the big tickets. I don't have a big ticket release this year, so it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is 28-8 with the week one numbers. And of course, you can get on board right now. You get buy 2 weeks, get one free. Today's the last day of that, Monday. But starting tomorrow, you get a 3-day all access pass for just $49. You get the entire weekend. You can stack them together. It's a limited time offer. Just visit my page, WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/TC, and take advantage of this $49 3-day pass. Or if you get it today, you can take advantage of buy 2 weeks, get a third for free. 2 excellent offers to get your September started in the right direction. When it comes to the Raiders and the Chargers, there were 3.5s out there all summer. Those just got bet up. Now it's down to 3. So, and I can understand that. The Chargers, at no point this offseason have the Chargers looked like a team poised to take that next step. There's a lot of hype around Harbaugh. Obviously, the guy won a national championship at Michigan. The guy won in San Francisco. The guy won at Stanford. The guy won at San Diego before that. Harbaugh's got a good long-term track record as a head coach at multiple levels. And he's got a star quarterback in Justin Herbert. But it's also a Chargers roster that is up against its salary cap wise, has holes, a lot of holes. And the market said this team can't be laying 3.5, and that's why it's down to 3 for the Raiders. Not like the markets are excited about the Raiders. The money coming in to buy the 3.5 down to 3 was A, divisional game week one. We don't see a lot of games higher than 3. B, which is also why you've seen a little bit of under money in this ballgame as well. Total 43.5 down to 40.5. The week one games, the week one divisional matchups tend to take under money, and they tend to take underdog money. This one, we've seen both of that. But it's not like the markets are excited about the Raiders. We haven't seen any Raiders over money in the offseason. We haven't seen much Raiders over money in the last 2 decades. And that's no different this year. And of course, you look at a quarterback room for this year and moving forward. The Raiders, if they don't rank 32nd, they certainly rank near them. I guess Minnesota's is worse, but at least Minnesota's already drafted their QB of the future. The Raiders haven't. So it's not a situation where the markets were excited about Vegas. This is a straight fade of the Chargers, taking all the 3.5s down to 3. There's also a fade of the Chargers offense with this under money and the division trend and the fact that Harbaugh says, we're going to run the football. Well, that might have to do with the fact that when you talk about teams with dicey receiving cores, talk about a team with dicey QB rotations or dicey quarterbacks in rooms, that's the Raiders. Talk about a team with a dicey receiving room, that's the Chargers.
Teddy, I got a handicapping question for you, and I think you're a great person to ask this. One, your experience betting the NFL. Obviously, you know what you're talking about, and your success early in the season. Have you noticed anything? I was going to ask you about college football coaches stepping up and at times not having success, but I don't know that it really translates with Harbaugh because he already has experience in the NFL. But what about first-year head coaches week one in the NFL? Have you noticed anything, either bet on or look to fade in that situation?
So there's a difference between first-year coaches and first-year, first-time coaches.
Ooh, good point. Yeah.
So you're talking about Harbaugh's not a first-year, first-time coach. First-year, first-time head coaches tend to be bet against in week one, but also those are the guys that tend to get the crappiest teams. So it's not a surprise they're bet against week one. The coaches that have multiple job options potentially available to them, like a Harbaugh, tend to walk in a better situation, tend not to be as bet against in week one. But I don't have any hard numbers in front of me to support that. That's just something from the memory, and so I don't have the hard numbers to show that. But it's I'm sure somebody does, Drew. Let's track that down and find it out.
Yeah, no. It's a great point, and the distinction between the two. But yeah, let us know in the comments below, guys, if you're watching the replay, watching live. That would be something I would definitely get on. I'll do some research as well. I'll be in there throughout the week, chopping it up with you guys. TC will be as well. So let us know in the comments below where you're watching from. What you think's going to happen week one, all is welcome in the comments below. We got Washington, Tampa Bay up next here, Teddy. 43 in the hook being the total, 44 at some shops. Looks like -3.5, -3 is both available here. That's the Bucks is the home favorite. So it's Washington at Tampa Bay, Raymond James Stadium, TC.
Yeah, we really appreciate those comments, guys. We really appreciate the likes. And of course, what do we have? More than 166,000 of you who are now subscribers to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, do so today. And if you like this show, I have one request. Last year, I was like, comment, like, comment. Not this year. One request if you like this show. Tell your friend. Tell somebody else. Tell somebody about it. That's all I ask. Thank you. And of course, the one thing that we are looking for is engagement. So if you watch the show, watch the whole show. YouTube loves when people stick around and watch longer form content. So again, if you think this is good, useful information that could help some of your friends, other people you know that bet, please tell them about the WagerTalk opening line report. Thank you. Now, let's talk about Washington and Tampa Bay. Boy, the markets do not like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Money coming in under on their win total, money coming in against them here in week one. My number on the game, Tampa 4.5. Opened 4, bet down to 3.5, and now the threes are starting to pop up for the Washington Commanders, who will be starting a rookie quarterback on a roster loaded with holes on the highway in his debut. That tells you how much the markets don't like Tampa Bay, a playoff team each of the last 4 years. I think it's cheap. I can only play the Bucs at this number. I don't know why the markets are looking at Tampa like last year was a fraud. I look at Tampa in many ways like last year they underachieved a little bit. So I'm on a little bit of a different valuation point for where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers deserve to be right now in the betting markets, and that's why my number is higher. That said, I think there's all kinds of upside with Washington. I know there's holes in that roster, but if you ask me which team with the rookie quarterback is most likely to take a big leap like Houston did last year, I mean, Chicago's there, potentially, but Washington's right behind them on that list. That's potential.
Sure, Teddy. Yeah. I'm picking
I'm
up
not saying they're going to be good.
week.
I'm saying they might be. They might overachieve. There's a chance there.
For sure. We got 475, 476 up next. Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks -5 in the hook at some shops. -6 seems to be the more prevailing number as we're talking here on Monday, week one. 42 being the total. So it's Broncos at Seahawks, Pacific Northwest, TC.
Yeah, I'm not high on Denver, and my number's only 4.5 on the ball game. So the markets are at 6 for Seattle. They're giving. I don't think they're lower on Denver. I think they might be higher on the Seahawks than I am right now. I look at Seattle. There's things to like about Seattle. but I'm not pricing them any better than what the season win market is pricing them and win is a slightly above 500 level team. Obviously, Denver, you're talking about a rookie QB in Bo Nix getting his first start on the highway against a decent defense. We don't love those first-time QBs in their first starts. They tend to be bet against. That being said, there's no bargain here with the 6 in Seattle. You can still find 5.5 if you shop around, but it's not like the Seahawks have that home field edge from the Legion of Doom days, or Legion of Boom. That's what it was. The home field hasn't been there for Seattle. They've been not good home chalk in the Geno Smith era, and Denver. I don't know that Denver's defense is any good either. Denver's very much, we're rebuilding, and much like Harbaugh in San Diego, Peyton in Denver, it's not a you have to win now scenario. He's allowed to build for another year or two. They didn't sign a 2-year deal, and he just drafted a rookie quarterback. So I'm not convinced that Denver's going to be winning games on the highway in week 1. Neither of the markets. Again, 6 the number. My number's only 4.5. So, and I'm not high on Denver. So it speaks to where I am versus the market is right now on Seattle. Clearly, the market's higher on the Seahawks than this better.
Last afternoon kick we're going to be talking here, guys. It's 1:25 Pacific, 4:25 Eastern. Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns. We are seeing the Browns -2.5. There is one -2 out there if you shop around. 41.5 or 42 being the total here, Teddy. Cowboys at Browns.
So here's another one where I'm off the market. My numbers pick them, and I'm not high on Dallas either. Dallas there's been strong under money for Dallas season win total. That opened 10.5 and got juiced to the under, and 10 got juiced to the under, and there were 9.5s out there. There's been money coming against Dallas in games of the year. There's been money coming against Dallas in this ball game. The markets are looking to fade the Cowboys, and they've taken a pretty strong opinion on that position in the off season. Of course, Cleveland, a playoff team a year ago, and defensively, the Browns look loaded. No joke on that defense, and that's why again we're talking about 42 and even 41.5 with this total, which is a little bit lower than what we're used to seeing for Cowboys games of late. Of course, Dallas defense was pretty good last year, but they lost their coordinator and a heck of a lot of talent on that side of the football. They also lost a fair bit of talent on that offensive line that's been elite for Dallas for many years, which may be why we're seeing the Cleveland money, because Cleveland's defense was great last year. In theory, that defensive front's supposed to blow up Dallas to the line of scrimmage. But again, this number's I'm not high on Dallas, and my numbers pick them. So the market's lower on the Cowboys and or higher on the Browns than I am. And I didn't see anything from Cleveland offensively this August. And again, you don't want to overreact to preseason, but I didn't see a whole lot we didn't see a whole lot excited about with Deshaun Watson and the Browns offense down the stretch last year. And I didn't see anything this August that changed my opinion of Cleveland being an underachieving team offensively. So a fair bit of Browns love. Again, -2.5. Could we see 3 years? Maybe. I'm not anticipating 3s at this time.
Flipping the script to Sunday night football up next. LA Rams, Detroit Lions. We're seeing a consensus number across the board here, guys. 51 as the total, and the Lions -3 in the hook as the home favorite. So next up, it is the Rams at the Lions from the Motor City, TC.
Yeah, this is the highest total on the board for week 1. It's taken two-way action at the current number, so it's not like it's been steamed up. My powering number, Detroit -4 over LA. Prevailing number right now, 3.5, although showing signs that it could get bet down to 3. There's some reduced juice if you're laying 3.5 at a number of shops right now with Detroit, which, again, we could get to 3 -20 on the Lions. I wouldn't count on it. And I don't know. We could get there. I don't expect that we will get there. Of course, it's a playoff revenge for the Rams. Their narrative's been Aaron Donald's not on the team anymore, so therefore they stink. The prevailing trend, the thought process on the Lions this offseason is last year was not an aberration, and Detroit's going to the Super Bowl this year, and it's the best Lions team that I've seen in my 27 years in Las Vegas. So the narrative is all Detroit. I think the public's going to be all Detroit on this single event Sunday night game. Lions have been pretty good home chalk in the Dan Campbell era. But the questions here is, what do we expect from LA? You got Stafford obviously going back to his old stomping grounds. You talk about the loss of Aaron Donald. How much does that change LA? Not in terms of their upside, but in terms of play by play, game by game. Does Aaron Donald's loss, is that the difference between -3 and -4 in this game? No surprise here if the Rams give him a game on opening night. I'll just leave it at that. Even though my number is -4 for Detroit, higher than the current market number, I'm not getting the Lions. And I'm hoping, I would love to see Detroit look lousy in this ballgame. That'll give us a lot more value with them moving forward than if they end up with a blowout win.
Guys, we got one game left here. Monday Night Football. Reminder, if you could comment below, any questions, welcome as well. We'll answer them as the show continues each and every week, 1 o'clock Eastern, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, getting you ready for the upcoming NFL week. This is the NFL opening line report. Teddy covers, Drew Martin breaking it down. All right, Monday night, September 9th here, Teddy, to end the Week 1 show. New York Jets, San Francisco 49ers. 49ers -3 in the hook, 43.5 being the total to end it, TC.
So I haven't spent a lot of time talking about injury reports for Week 1. This is a game where all you can do is talk about the injury report for Week 1. I have no idea who's going to play. Go look at like the guys who are questionable this week for these two squads. It's like the starting lineups of both teams. Whether it's McCaffrey, you don't know if he's playing. You don't know if he's going to play. Trent Williams, the star tackle, don't know if he's going to play. On offense, and multiple offensive linemen questionable for San Francisco. Obviously, for the Jets, same story. Tyron Smith's a question mark. Quentin Williams a question mark. Michael Carter's a question mark. Xavier Newman, and on down the line. Both teams with significant number of question marks. We got Aaron Rodgers, who didn't do anything in the preseason, didn't do anything in the offseason. 40 years old, coming off an Achilles, and they've taken all the money. Again, my number here was 3.5 all the way. This was as high as San Fran -5, -6 over the summer. Now it's 3.5 across the board. So the market's not crashing on San Francisco, but there's been a lot of concerns about this offseason for the 49ers when it comes to a team that's, again, been playing at elite level each of the last 4 years. They've been among the best teams in the NFL. Hard to stay at that level as the salary cap problems project forward. San Fran takes a fair bit of under money in the win total market, and we're seeing money come for the Jets in this one, despite all those concerns for Rodgers and company in terms of, we haven't seen him actually play yet. And it's a Jets team that, again, last year you throw away everything, so this year is a completely new story. A lot of moving parts for the Jets right now. But again, it's a story with, 3.5 was my number, 3.5 the prevailing number. Watch your injury reports this week. This is one of those games where you want to know who's playing and who isn't. And the good news is that it's not being played till Monday night. So we'll have plenty of time to peruse those injury reports and try to figure some of this stuff out.
Great stuff as always, TC. Guys, remember that 2 weeks or 3 weeks for the price of 2. Check that out. Teddy covers success in the NFL, proven success for multiple years here. I got a 5% max limit going in Week 1. I've been hot out the gate in the NFL as well the last couple years, guys. So 2 good options for you. 3 weeks for the price of 2. But TC, I'll throw it back to you, man. Any final thoughts before we shut down Week 1 NFL opening line report?
Yeah, so, what are we going to say? This is a marathon, not a sprint. All right, don't blow your bankroll Week 1. Win or lose, don't blow your bankroll Week 1. It'd been nice to double it, obviously. But it's an area where slow and steady is going to win this race. People get real excited for Week 1 of the NFL. And I am too, don't get me wrong. But with my bankroll, I'm fairly conservative. We'll get there. We got to all follow the bet. But I'm excited about it. I got 4 plays already up for Week 1 for my clients at WagerTalk.com. Again, visit my page, wt.buzz/TC. Get on board. Like Drew said, you can take advantage of the buy 2 weeks, get a third free. You can also take advantage of, starting on Tuesday, you can take advantage of these 3-day all-access passes for just $49. And you can stack them together. Get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and do it again Friday, Saturday, Sunday. however you like to do it. Check it out, WagerTalk.com. And thank you so much. Again, we do appreciate the likes. We appreciate the follows. We appreciate the comments very, very much. All those thumbs up make a difference. But tell a friend. That's what we love the most. Thank you, Drew.
Well said, TC. We'll be in there throughout the week, chopping it up with you guys in the comments. He's Steady Covers. I'm Drew Martin. Guys, enjoy week 1. We'll be back next Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern. Come back and join us. Until then, cash those tickets. Thanks for tuning in.